There they are. I knew I put them there.
Well, that took a lot longer than I thought.
Call this meeting back to order, please.
We got a lot to go.
Item 17A. Oh no, we're not there yet.
No, we're not.
Gosh,
We're on,
I'm dreaming.
yeah, 16C.
Yeah, you were
Let's see.
Okay, we're going to call her back to order. We are on agenda item number 16C, Commission General Regulation 406, trapping regulations for congested and residential areas, LCB file number R062-12, Chief Game Warden Rob Buonamici. The Commission may adopt a regulation relating to trapping, prohibiting a person from trapping if, well, we changed that, fur-bearing mammal, other than with box or cage trap within a certain distance of residents located within a congested area of certain counties, and providing other matters properly relating thereto. And so we considered this yesterday. We did make some changes to the language, and I guess at this point I'd ask either one of you, because I believe that you did get some additional information with regard to what was the specific issue?
Had to do with the determining how we do where we get the 100,000.
Right, population. Right. So, Rob, you want to go ahead and?
Okay. For the record, Rob Buonamici, Chief Game Warden. The changes are going to be as follows. Proposed changes as follows. On Section 1, except as otherwise provided in subsection 2, a person shall not, and then we will insert set a trap, and then strike a fur-bearing mammal, other than with a box or cage trap within half mile of a residence. If the residence is located within a congested area of a county whose population is 100,000 or more based on the United States Census. And we spoke with LCB yesterday, and that was perfectly acceptable. And then continuing with changes.
I just, I have a comma after the word trap, but now that I look at that, I'm not sure if that's correct. So there's no comma after trap, right? Okay.
I don't believe so.
Okay, got it. Go ahead.
The next change would be in Section 3. Under A, box or cage trap means a device that is designed to contain or confine. Change A to N, A-N, and then strike fur-bearing mammal and insert animal. This term does not include any device that is designed, built, or made to close upon or hold fast any portion of an animal, and strike fur-bearing mammal.
Okay.
And that should be all the changes that were discussed yesterday.
Okay, well, good. Okay, then I'll bring back to the Commission any questions or comments from the Commission on the regulation or the changes to the regulation. Commissioner Moran?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we need the word with on Section 1, number 1, that reads, a person shall not set a trap other than with a box or cage trap? Do we need that word with in there?
Actually, probably not.
Oh, good catch. Yeah, probably not.
Very good. Okay, so that's another one.
Good catch.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from the Commission? Please, seeing none, I'll go ahead and take it off to the public. Any public comment on the regulation or the changes to the regulation? Everybody okay with it? Okay. Seeing no public comment, I will bring it back to the Commission. I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve LCB file number R062-12 with the changes noted by Rob.
Second.
We have a
And-
motion.
And Mr. Mora?
And Mr. Morai, excuse me, yes, Commissioner Morai,
Okay. So here's a change of the word with.
deleting with.
Deleting with. Okay. Got it. I understand the motion. Any additional comment, discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. So I guess now it just goes to LCB and we should have a final regulation, as soon as they go through their legislative commission process, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And then at some point, we'll probably, as a courtesy, wrap up all the regulations in a letter to Senator.
Okay, that's probably a good idea.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, good. Keep this moving. 16D, Commission Regulation 407, Wildlife Heritage Trust Account, LCB file number R022-12. Deputy Director Patrick Cates. The Commission may adopt a regulation relating to the Wildlife Heritage Trust account requiring a person who is responsible for managing or supervising a conservation project that is approved by the Board of Wildlife Commissioners to enter into an agreement for the receipt of a grant of money from the account and providing other matters properly relating thereto. Deputy Director Cates, go ahead.
Got an easy one for you. We reviewed this yesterday. A very simple regulation. This changes NAC 501.340, subparagraph 1A. It changes it from the terminology complete a contract for services on a form provided. It changes that to enter into an agreement prescribed by the department and approved by the commission for the receipt of a grant of money from the account, basically changing it from a contracting to a granting process.
Okay. We didn't have any changes to this, so basically we're voting, like we'll be voting to accept it as proposed. Any additional comments from the commission? Okay, seeing none, I'll take it out for public comment on the heritage regulation for changing from contracts to grants. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission, look for a motion. Commissioner Wallace.
I move to approve Commission General Regulation 407 Wildlife Heritage Trust Account LCB file number R022-12 as presented by the department.
Second.
They have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving on, Commission General Regulation 408, Aquatic Invasive Species Decontamination Regulations, LCB file number R048-12. Chief Rob Buonamici and Fisheries, well, I don't think she's here. The Commission may adopt a regulation relating to aquatic species, providing requirements for decontamination of certain vessels and conveyances, and providing other matters properly relating thereto. Chief Buonamici, go ahead.
For the record, Rob Buonamici, Chief Game Warden. I believe after quite a bit of discussion yesterday, there were no changes to the language, but the option was thrown out there for adding a section 3 that would read, for the purposes of sections 1 and 2, decontamination and inspection only apply to vessels capable of retaining water.
Okay, say it again.
For the purposes of section 1 and 2, decontamination and inspection only apply to vessels capable of retaining water.
Okay.
And for the record, I did speak with LCB prior to making that suggested language change yesterday, and they were okay.
They were okay with that as well. Okay. Okay, so with that, I'll bring it back to the commission so we can discuss this option. And I know there was a lot of folks that had concern. I know Commissioner Drew did. He's not here, but He was concerned about this. So any comments? What's your thought on the option? Commissioner Rand?
Yeah, I'll throw it out there. This regulation, if we don't add that in, the more I keep looking at it, man, it's going to exclude a lot of people, and there's people who are going to be breaking the rules and not knowing it, and it'd be a mess without this. It would truly be a mess, and regardless, since it would be basically unenforceable to begin with, especially on that option, the best way to deal with float tubes and other vessels not capable of retaining water would be through education rather than this regulation. So, you know, yes, I had a little bit, but the more I looked at it, I think it'd make it more enforceable to the rest of things, because you'd be limiting it to a lot smaller number of vessels.
Then that raises a question, because you're interpreting this language to mean that a float tube would be one, because it doesn't hold water?
Yeah.
It would be one that would be excluded?
And a surfboard and all those paddle boards and all those items. However, it would still not exclude things like life jackets and ropes and other pieces of, you know, fishing equipment.
Okay,
So,
and I guess in the companion regulation, there's nothing inconsistent with that because I know in Karen's presentation to us, she specifically had float tubes as being requiring licensure, but that may have just been in her PowerPoint. And I'm just want to make sure that, you know, getting the stamp, that we're basically not going to be required to get a stamp then for, you know, for these, for a float tube.
Jumping ahead here to the next regulation you'll be hearing, if we use that language here, we would need to apply similar language to the next regulation regarding the stamp.
Okay, that's what I'm concerned about. Okay, so we'll make sure we look at that then.
Mr. Chairman, you know, one of the things I was concerned about, the same thing Mr. Rain just mentioned, it left it up to an individual who says, okay, your responsibility is to protect all the waters. Well, then you would eliminate anything, you'd include anything that floated in the water. I mean, that for sure would cover everything. But the reality of it is, it's really not enforceable. I mean, it's hugely oppressive at some level. I mean, those paddle boats, I mean, the surfboards that you paddle on. And I guess my recommendation to staff would be that when we start collecting some money, we actually test the float tubes, see if they really do retain water in their skin, or do villagers actually live there? Can we find some approach to decontamination that might be as simple as, you know, 50% Clorox in water solution, those kinds of things. You know, I spent quite a bit of time in Topaz, and I can tell you that if Topaz it turned out to be actually infected, there's very few float tubes and pontoon boats. I mean, it's motor craft that are probably they're the 95% of the culprit. I know I'll get pushback from some of the staff when we get back, but I feel more comfortable as let's get the majority of what we think is really the culprit, and then start working on that. And people, we need to provide guidelines to make sure that they don't fish at one little lake and then the next day fish at another with their pontoon boat. And quite frankly, pontoon boats, when I got at home the last time I had weeds. Okay, and we're not talking about just quaggas here. We're talking about milfoil and all those other, you know, aquatic nuisance species. So something that you paddle, you got a transom. I mean, I think there you could easily have a stamp, and you can retain water at some level. But I think this is a reasonable approach at this point, and I'll certainly take the heat. And if we find that research shows that the float tubes are a real threat,
come back.
We'll be right knocking on the door immediately.
Okay. Any other commission comment, discussion? Okay, guess I'll take this out to the public then. Any public comment on this decontamination regulation for aquatic invasive species. Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and bring it back to the commission and have a motion.
Thanks, Ryan.
Commissioner Rain?
Move to approve this Commission General Regulation 408 with the addition as read by Chief Buonamici,
Adding section.
adding section 3.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, comment on the motion? Seeing none, call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Moving on, 16F, Commission General Regulation 409, Aquatic Invasive Species Fees Relating to Vessels, LCB file number R049-12, Chief Rob Buonamici. Commission may adopt a regulation relating to aquatic species establishing the amount of the aquatic invasive species fee required for certain vessels, specifying the manner in which an aquatic invasive species decal must be displayed on certain inflatable vessels, setting forth the required lettering, size, and color of each aquatic invasive species decal, and providing other matters properly relating thereto. Chief Buonamici.
Again, for the record, Rob Buonamici, Chief Game Warden. There was discussion yesterday regarding this regulation. Ultimately, no suggested amendments for the regulation as presented, with the exception of the option again of applying this to vessels just capable of retaining water. So to do that, what the suggestion would be is prior to the current section 4, insert a new section. So the new section 4 basically would read, the provisions of sections 2 and 3 only apply to vessels capable of retaining water. And then section 4 would be section 5. The old section 4.
Okay, because when you're referring to sections, are you referring to the NRS section or to
the NAC, the proposed language in NAC? It's broken down by section. Section 2 starts out the amount of aquatic invasive species be required pursuant to NRS 488.536 is. So section 2 and then section 3 starts out with the aquatic invasive species decal issued by a department for inflatable vessel with an inflatable transom may be attached to a removable plate that is securely attached to the port side transom of the vessel. So that's the two sections that this would apply to. And then basically, and that's mostly the entire body of the language. And then section 3, or excuse me, section 4, a new section 4 would be inserted. The provisions of sections 2 and 3 only apply to vessels capable of retaining water.
Okay, and so that's my point is that sections 2 and 3 are a part of the actual bill. You're referring to bill section numbers, aren't you?
I'm referring to the NAC section.
The stuff listed just
The proposed regulation section.
Section 3.
the new proposed stuff.
Section 2, section 3.
Right. And so what you're talking about doing is making this one 5, and then writing in the section 4. But when that is referring back to, that language that you're going to read is referring back to these sections 2 and 3, which are are these NAC sections?
Yes.
These are. Okay. Okay, if that's the case, then, okay. Does everybody have that? Okay, bring it back to commission. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, how about any public comment? Gil?
Yesterday, I talked about, possibly a fee thing rather than having everybody buy decals and stuff like that. I talked to Mr. Sefton to try to get some numbers to quantify the number of fishing licenses and one-day sales that were sold annually. It's something just under 120,000. And if we raise the price of the fishing license by $5, we raised the 600,000 that I think the department anticipates raising with the sale of the decals to handle the cost of the decontamination program. So it's going to be a lot easier to just increase a fee than to make people go through the rigmarole of buying a decal and attaching a decal and how long it stays on, and just as an alternative to the amount of effort that it's going to take and the cost of setting up the program and maintaining the decal program as an alternative. I'm just looking for a way to reduce the overhead cost of starting another program when we already have a fishing license program. And I know I'm going to catch it from the fishermen. They're saying we're supporting what's done by the boaters, but I don't know the split between people who register boats who are just doing it for pleasure or for doing it for fishing. But it seems like it may be an alternative to consider, because we'll raise the amount of money.
Okay. Any additional public comment? Rob, did you have something to respond on that?
Yeah, for the record, Rob Buonamici. While I appreciate Mr. Yannick's suggestion, and it would make life easier, the NRS is very specific. NRS 488.536, number 2, the department shall issue to a person who pays the fee established pursuant to subsection 4 an aquatic invasive species decal as evidence of the payment of the aquatic invasive species fee. So we're required to issue a decal one way or the other. And then the next thing that kicks in is the commission shall establish regulation, shall establish by regulation an aquatic invasive species fee, which, and then it lists the prices. So
it sounds like it's statutory at this
yeah, we're stuck doing it this way.
Yeah. Okay.
Question for the chief. If could, would, just for, maybe it's more on the administrative side of this, is to make it simpler for the department. Is it possible that this would be an option when they're buying, when they're licensing their boat? I can get a boat license with that decal or buy a boat license without that decal. I mean, as a part of the same thing. Does it have the extra marking on it? Is that an option, or?
Yes, that's exactly what we're intending to do. We cannot roll the fee in with the boat registration because that'll jeopardize the U.S. Coast Guard grants that we get. So we can do exactly like I believe you said is, when you register your boat, I wish to register my boat, here's my whatever, $25 fee, and check the box, and I'd also like an aquatic invasive species.
So your nice boat license has a nice R on it or NR on it and you're done?
No, it's 2 separate decals. They're still
have to be separate.
Right.
And if it's, okay.
At least the administration is...
yeah, but we're trying to make it as simple and easy for the user as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the commission? And I did take it out to public comment, and we're done with that, so looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the, was it 409? Flip back it. Commission General Regulation 409 as presented by the department with the addition of the language, the new section 4 as stated by Chief Buonamici.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion on the motion? And is the department okay with that motion language? We know what we're doing there? Okay, any additional comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay.